Does any member wish to be recognized for purpose of debate on the bill?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not shocked. Ms. Hageman, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, the committee is considering my bill, H.R. 281, the Grizzly Bear State Management Act. This bill would require the Department of Interior to reissue the 2017 final rule entitled Endangered and Threatened Wildlife and Plants, removing the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem population of grizzly bears from the federal list of endangered and threatened wildlife. The Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, or GYE, grizzly bear, was first listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act in 1975 after population declines in the 19th and 20th centuries. The Fish and Wildlife Service set a recovery goal of at least 500 grizzlies or to maintain an average of 674 bears. The Greater Yellowstone ecosystem grizzly bear crossed the 500 bear threshold in 1997, and the population continues to grow and is now over 1,100 bears. The GYE grizzly population has exceeded the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's recovery goals for over 2 decades. Mr. Chairman, since a mere 3% of species listed under the ESA have ever been delisted, the ESA desperately needs a success story like the GYE grizzly bear. The grizzly is in fact the poster child for how the ESA has failed in terms of what it was intended to do and how it has actually been implemented. The purpose of the ESA was to identify threatened or endangered species, develop an effective recovery plan, provide for state involvement in managing and protecting such species, and delisting when recovery goals were met. While the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has been successful at listing species, delisting as per the statute has been an exercise in futility, regardless of whether a particular species has recovered or not. To put it bluntly, the ESA has become a zoning mechanism whereby the health and well-being of a species is secondary to environmental groups' desire to control vast swaths of land and water, and the grizzly is no exception. The Wyoming Grizzly Bear Management Plan was first issued in 2002, and it has been updated and amended at various times since. It is a robust document based on sound science, and the state of Wyoming is fully capable of immediately implementing it to protect and maintain a recovered GYE grizzly population. The Wyoming Game and Fish Department is, in other words, more than capable of and prepared to manage this species just as it does the thousands of other species that we have in our great state. In fact, the state of Wyoming has spent over $1 million on grizzly recovery, with the Fish and Wildlife Service spending literally pennies on the dollar in comparison. The point being that Wyoming is responsible for the success of the grizzly recovery efforts, not the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and that fact alone compels delisting. Keeping the status quo in place and depriving Wyoming of the ability to manage the species as part of the broader ecosystem will only continue to exacerbate numerous issues we have experienced with the unchecked and growing bear population. From 1990 to 2022, the occupied range of the bear population has increased steadily at a rate of 3.65% per year, with a high of 27,208 square miles being occupied by grizzly bears. This expansion has resulted in increased bear encounters, both deadly and life-altering attacks on our citizens, depredation of livestock, negative impacts on other wildlife species, and more. Both the previous and Trump administrations recognized the success of the GYE recovery program and delisted the bear. Such delisting would have stuck, except for the actions of radical environmental organizations and activist judges. The grizzly bear has been recovered for going on 30 years, and the population has continued to expand, having grown larger since these previous delisting efforts. Keeping the GYE grizzly bear listed under the ESA is not only a violation of the letter and spirit of the ESA, but has allowed the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to implement bad policy and horrible management decisions. This is made most obvious by the Biden administration's parting gift in its waning days. The Biden administration issued a proposed rule where it rejected Wyoming's petition to delist after several years of refusing to issue any kind of a decision at all. But they didn't reject Wyoming's petition to delist because the grizzly isn't recovered and not because the state management plan is insufficient to protect and maintain a recovered population. But they refused to delist the grizzly bear so that the agency could again move the goalpost to link the GYE delisting to the recovery of other bear populations outside of our state, which is not only unfair, but illegal. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has thus attempted to punish Wyoming for our success in protecting the grizzly, trying to make us the nursery for bear populations in other states. The GYE grizzly bear has recovered, and it is time for Washington to return management to the state. Otherwise, its recovery will remain subject to lawsuits and shifting recovery standards. I urge all my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back.
Lady